chapter 2, Lewis has gotten onto the bus and is heading upward. And he begins to start talking to some of these people on the bus. So we're introduced to more of these ghosts, of these souls from hell that have at least chosen to go up to heaven and take a look. The tousle-headed poet, tousle-headed means messy-headed. Think about if you've ever seen pictures of the composer Beethoven, who's always had just one bad hair day after another. This is apparently what this poet is like. And this is a fellow who is constantly indulging in self-pity. And if you were to look at it in kind of the traditional forms of vices that Christian morality has taught, this would be a fellow who we would describe as vain. Now, vanity, maybe you think of somebody who's in front of the mirror, somebody who looks very good and they're constantly primping and preening. But what vanity means is that you have an excessive desire for attention and respect from others. So vanity can be somebody who's very focused on how wonderful they are. But you can also have this weird form of vanity where somebody is constantly feeling unappreciated, where all they're doing is looking around and saying, how come I'm not getting the attention I deserve? If you look at the Screwtape letters, there's a letter where Screwtape will talk about how it is that both God and the devil seek a self-detachment from human beings. But they seek the self-detachment in very different ways. God wants you to be detached from yourself insofar as he wants you to be detached from what's lower in yourself, sort of your natural selfish self, your fallen self. He wants you to break away from that and be open to something that's higher and bigger and better. The devil wants a self-attachment, but he wants a self-detachment that's based on you getting away from your deepest longings or desires and detaching yourself into things that are phony and inauthentic and artificial, in which you're constantly chasing things that are unreal and unfulfilling. So self-pity can be a form of that kind of detachment, that you create all sorts of imaginary persecution and sorrows. You take things that are relatively small and inflate them all out of proportion. It's Screwtape who observes that a toothache is a much better indicator of your connection with reality than some great drama in which you are the victim of all sorts of persecution and neglect. Evidently, this guy's self-pity is so strong that he throws himself under a train, much to the dismay of Lewis, who's listening to his narrative. It was the long-term belief in Christian theology and Christian practice that suicides went to hell. If you read Dante's Divine Comedy, there's a circle for people who have committed suicide. Maybe this is something we would modify in light of things that we know from medicine and psychology. Maybe there are ways in which people are not fully responsible for ending their own lives. But even so, when you look at this particular fellow, he doesn't seem to have some kind of mental disorder or some kind of psychological problem. This is really somebody who is vain and arrogant and has killed himself out of selfishness and self-pity. Almost a kind of I'll show them sort of attitude. So whatever you want to say about the immorality of suicide, however you want to qualify it by modern knowledge, this is plainly somebody who's done it for deeply immoral and self-centered reasons. He is going to heaven, he's going to at least tour it, to do what? To find recognition, to find appreciation. Here is a spirit who at least has some interest in leaving hell and going to heaven, but notice that his outlook is completely selfish, is completely self-centered. Well, after a quarrel erupts on the bus, there's shooting and violence. Nobody actually seems to get injured. It's all very cartoonish, apparently. Lewis finds himself next to an intelligent-looking man. The intelligent-looking man makes the observation that the population of hell is constantly spreading out in all directions. The ultimate form of urban sprawl, if you like. This illustrates the selfishness of hell. Anytime people come together, there's some kind of good that they find with each other. And the very fact that these people keep spreading out, they can't find any good together. There's nothing outside themselves that can unite them. Again, to allude to a section of the Screwtape Letters, Screwtape talks about how it is that the whole philosophy of hell is that my good is my good, and your good is your good. There's no way that your good could be mine or mine could be yours. It's a complete rejection of what traditionally has been referred to as the common good, some kind of good outside the individual that perfects him and perfects everyone who shares in that good. That it's a good of such a nature that all can share in it, all at the same time, and it doesn't diminish upon being shared out. This is exactly, of course, what devils deny. For them, their radical selfishness makes them focused on their own private good. And that's apparently what's going on with these souls in hell. They live further and further away from each other. If you look at Jean-Paul Sartre's play No Exit, it's a play in which there are three people who are damned, and they're all locked in with each other. They're constantly complaining to each other. They have schemes where they want to use each other. They argue, they're frustrated. They actually get to the point where they try to kill each other. But of course, they're all damned souls. None of the weapons work. The play concludes with the line, L'Infern est l'autres. Hell is others. Hell is other people. And that's what's happening in this dark town. These souls are so radically closed in that they can't get along. And so they're constantly spreading out. Well, this intelligent-looking man has a scheme. He thinks that the problem is that there's no needs that would bind this community together. They need economic basics to bring them together. And apparently they can get things just by imagining them. And from his point of view, that's what's fragmenting the community. It's not problems that these people have on the inside, it's rather that they're lacking things on the outside. So he's going to go to heaven and bring back something that he can sell, bring back a commodity that will somehow create community. Now, plainly, Lewis is commenting on the view that society can be explained as just a matter of selfish need or economic relationships. That somehow, if people have needs that they're fulfilling, especially material ones, that's enough to bring people together. Well, we'll see what happens with this fellow in his attempt to bring back something from heaven. He's not successful. In both cases, the tousle-headed poet and this intelligent-looking man, they are both going to heaven looking to get something for themselves. In the problem of pain, Lewis asks whether one can go to heaven for selfish reasons. And he ends up saying no. The moment that somebody tried to claim something in heaven as his own, he would be straight away thrust into hell and become an evil spirit. And that's what's happening with these two fellows. They're going to heaven with the wrong outlook. And so that is not going to allow them. It's going to prevent them from actually receiving what heaven has to offer. And we'll see this principle exemplified throughout the Great Divorce. The heart of the spiritual condition that these damned people have, again, is this radical selfishness, this closed-in attitude that they have to goods that are out there that everyone could share in. Well, in the next chapter, we'll look at the strangeness of heaven for these ghosts and the problems that they have just being able to get around.